morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at Mismagius. Now, I know we've already looked at Mismagius, but what I want to do is look at essentially why Mismagius can lead us back into the age of full-on proper job speed decks. We've done our reveal and analysis of Mismagius, but today we are really focusing in on how Mismagius can lead us back to the promised land. And by the promised land, I mean speed decks. Because let me be super clear about this at the beginning of this video. Mismagius can do some dumb things. And Mismagius can really speed up the game if that's what you're into. So, Mismagius then. As a quick reminder, I mean, look, the attack does 70 damage and blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Maybe in a Malamar deck. But what we really care about is the ability here. The ability says that once during your turn, you may KO Mismagius. Yes, that means you give your opponent a prize. And then draw until you've got 7 cards in hand. Now, that's not really any different to Dedenne, whereby when you put it on the bench, you discard your hand and draw 6. I suppose you're drawing, not discarding and then drawing, but still very similar deal. The difference is Dedenne is limited to once during your turn. Mismagius is absolutely not. And one of the counter-arguments could be, yeah, but come on, Dedenne's a basic and Mismagius is a stage 1, but that doesn't matter, because we've got Duskstone. And Duskstone is a ridiculous new item card that lets you evolve into Mismagius as well as a couple of other cards just by playing an item card. And yes, you can do it on the first turn of the game, and yes, you can do it the turn you put Misdreavus down. So you can, on the first turn of the game, theoretically get 4 Mismagius, KO them all, and then draw until you got 7 cards in hand 3 times. Sorry, 4 times. That's even better. Now, in the expanded format, this leads to a redonk combo with N. Because you see, N makes both players shuffle their hand into their deck and draw a number of cards equal to their remaining prizes. Now, if you've not taken any prizes, yay, 6 cards. You can put your opponent down to a 2 or 3 card hand here. I had a friend who was in a tournament a little while ago and they messed up their deck list. And their opponent got given a treble prize card penalty, which means that their opponent started the game with 3 prizes taken and only 3 remaining to take before they won the game. Anyone want to guess what my friend did? Yeah, they just dropped an N. And his opponent drew nothing for the entire game and then lost. Which is kind of harsh, but also kind of a little bit funny if you're the person doing it, not if you're the person to whom it's being done. Although do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice. It's an important rule. My point here is that if you can hurt your opponent, this can work. If you want an easier way to go about this, Ace Trainer. Ace Trainer gives you a new hand of 6 and your opponent a new hand of 3, just so long as you're behind in the game. We'll use a Mismagius. You'll be behind in the game. Now, the thing is, these are only in expanded, and I do think that they are absolutely valid things that you should be doing in expanded, but we're going to focus more on standard. But I just wanted to let you know that that was potentially an option. And frankly, there are 2 things going for you here. Firstly, you're down on prizes. Secondly, speed. Because if you really want to get set up, let's say you really want to play a water deck and you want to discard a whole bunch of energy and you want to use a whole bunch of Aqua Patch, etc. Let's say you just want to turn 1 Lapras. Let's say your opponent passed the game and they've got 1 Pokemon out with 190 HP. Let's say, for argument's sake, Buzzwole GX. That basically says to you, right, if you can get free energy on Lapras and a choice band, you win the game there and then. So what you need is to get 2 energy into the discard using cards like Ultra Ball. You need to hit 2 Aqua Patch on your Lapras, attach a choice band to your Lapras, and get Lapras in the active. That is a heck of a combo to try pulling off in 1 turn. But Mismagius is going to help you out beautifully here because it essentially lets you draw until you've got 7 cards in your hand up to 4 times. And remember, you can draw Misdreaver's Duststone and then that will get you there. So you might only have 1 Mismagius out, but then you can get more out. And you can get Mismagius out and leave it there and just KO it when you want to do the extra drawing. You do not have to do the extra drawing right now. You evolve into Mismagius and you choose when to KO it and do the extra drawing. The other thing we need to remember here is that this is not an ability that's easily turned off. Yeah, technically Slacking can turn it off, but no one's playing it. Alolan Muck won't turn it off because you're not a basic. And Glaceon won't turn it off because you're not an EX or a GX. So this is an ability that's going to be there. Your opponent can see that you've got 2 Mismagius on the field and be scared of it, but that doesn't mean they can actually do anything about it. And that's the problem. For them, not for you. Again, if you head into the expanded format, you can do even dumber things here. In the expanded format, we've got Max Elixir. Lets you look at the top 6 cards of your deck and attach your basic energy you find there to one of your bench basic Pokemon. That's going to help you accelerate energy. We've got Dark Patch, which is literally just an Aqua Patch, but for Darkness Pokemon. And you could even use Fire Pokemon and play around with something like Blacksmith here, which attaches to Fire Energy. And frankly, what we're doing here is just going, right, I need a combination of like 6 or 7 cards in order to win the game this turn. Or not even necessarily win the game, but just put yourself in an unassailable position. And this makes it viable. But what I'm really looking at here is Lieutenant Surge's strategy. Now, there's a bunch of cards you can use if you're behind in the game. I'll tell you about all of them properly in a moment. But we're looking for the minute at Lieutenant Surge's strategy. One of the most ridiculous cards that we've had revealed and released in a long time. It lets you play 2 extra supporters in addition to itself, but you've got to be behind on prizes. This is one of those cards to me which is immediately, the second it's released, straddling that line of, is it actually too good? And it might be. It is one of the leading candidates for going to be banned at some point, but we can talk about that more in the future. Let's just assume it's sticking around. You want to be behind on prizes, and you want to have a Lieutenant Surge, and then you want to have the other 2 supporters you want to play. Now, Lieutenant Surge says you can play 2 extra supporters this turn. It does not say when you play it, you've got to immediately play 2 more supporters. That is not what it says. So you can play a Lieutenant Surge, use a Mismagius, use another Mismagius, play a supporter, use another Mismagius, and then play your second supporter or your third, not, Surge is 1, then 2 more. You know what I mean? The point is, you've got a great combo rolling here, and you can take your time and get it working as and when. You need the first Mismagius before you drop Surge so that you're behind on prizes, but then when you are, you're golden. And I think one of the best ways to show how ridiculous this can be is by having a look at fire decks. Now, we've talked this week quite a bit about how great fire decks are, because they are. That's one of the big stories at the moment. But there are a couple of supporters that fire decks have got which let you accelerate extra energy. We've got Welder, which lets you attach 2 energy from your hand and draw 3 cards. And then you've got Kiawe that lets you accelerate 4 energy from your deck, but then your turn ends. So let's say you're going first. If you're going first, you're not able to attack. So it doesn't really matter if you end your turn without attacking. So you use Mismagius, and you can do it first turn going first by taking advantage of Duskstone. And then you can use Mismagius, play a Lieutenant Surge, play a Welder to attach 2 extra energy, and bearing in mind when you play Welder you draw 3 cards. Because you want to play a Kiawe afterwards, but there's a decent chance you'll draw the Kiawe when you play the Welder, because Welder lets you draw 3 cards. And then all of a sudden you got your attachment for the turn, you got Welder, you've got Kiawe. Before your opponent ever draws a card, you've got 7 energy on the field. 7! Now, what you could do here is actually just use 2 Welder, and then the second time you play Welder, you draw 3 cards, do a bunch of other stuff. That is an option. And certainly you could do double Welder on a turn and then attack. but I do think you should consider Welder and Kiawe, especially on turn 1. And something like Reshiram and Charizard. Their ridiculous Tag Team GX attack does 300 damage and goes through any effects on the defending Pokemon. But if you want the extra effects, so it does 200 normally, 300 and goes to the effects is the extra, you got to have 6 energy on there. And ordinarily, 6 energy on a Pokemon would be unrealistic. No! It's actually not. Here's what's so dumb about this. You use Kiawe and your attachment for the turn onto Reshiram and Charizard. You then use Welder onto a different Pokemon. And then on your second turn, you attach a 6th energy to Reshiram and Charizard, use a crazy GX attack, and you've still got 2 energy on another Pokemon. I could sit here giving examples for about the next hour or so, but I'm going to give you one more. Pikachu and Zekrom Tag Team GX. Pikachu and Zekrom Tag Team GX has a redonkulous GX attack that does 200 damage, but if you've got 6 energy on rather than 3, it does 200 to the active, 170 to one of your opponent's bench. Now, this isn't a turn 1 thing. Turn 1, you use Thunder Mountain, Prism Star, and Tapu Koko, and then your energy attachment for the turn. You then use the first attack to accelerate free energy, and then turn 2, you can get the full Tag Bolt. The problem is, your opponent might leave their only 170 HP GX in the active, so that you're not taking 2 KOs, you're just taking 1, and doing a lot of damage to the bench. But if you're behind on prizes, hey! Counter Catcher. And now you can bring whatever you want active to KO that, while taking out a bench Pokemon. Or maybe they've got a Tapu Lele on their bench, but you just really want to drag a Blacephalon in the active to get a KO on both of them. You can do that. 1 Mismagius, go behind on prizes, bearing in mind using Mismagius means you're way more likely to run into a Counter Catcher anyway, and then take your 4 prizes. And I've mentioned Lieutenant Surge and I've mentioned Counter Catcher, but don't forget Counter Energy. 2 of any energy when attached to a non-EX, non-GX and you're behind on prizes. And don't forget Counter Gain, which reduces the attack cost of the Pokemon to whom it is attached if you're behind on prizes. So we can go kind of over the top silly here. So something like the Entei from Lost Thunder. The main attack here, 80 damage, but each player discards a top card of their deck and you do 60 more for each energy card discarded in this way. Chance you do 200 damage, but worst case scenario, you get to do a bunch of damage while discarding the top card of your opponent's deck. And right, 2 fire, 1 colorless, that looks like an awkward attack cost. No! Use Mismagius, and it's a counter energy and a counter gain, which you can incidentally do in 1 turn because Duststone evolves up straight away. And then you can still use something like Welder to attach energy elsewhere. That's ridiculous. I could keep going, but the point is, Mismagius can do 2 principal things which are crazy good. Number 1, it can allow you to draw way more cards than you should be able to set up ridiculous combos that need many cards in a way that you shouldn't be able to. And number 2, it allows you to take advantage of, abuse these cards like Lieutenant Surge's strategy and Counter Catcher, which can only be used if you're behind on prizes. Make no mistake about it, Mismagius isn't just a good card, it is a game-changing card. And we looked at our analysis the other day as we usually do, but Mismagius needed another video where I gushed over it and just gave you a bunch of examples of things that you can do. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's over to you guys. I would very much like to know what you're planning on doing with Mismagius, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.